What made me change? I actually haven't told a lot of these stories. What if I'm pregnant? Woke up with like bruises. Have I had a pregnancy scare? Even like abortion. I think that's probably the hardest thing that I probably won't ever get over. What are the things from your past that you still struggle with? What was the lowest moment in your life? Are you scared a Christian boy is not gonna want you? How are you able to be so open about your past? What change in relationship was the hardest for you to accept? How do you stay on fire for God all the time? I'm the villain in someone else's story. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is katyy, and today we're going to be doing a raw and vulnerable personal Q&A type of video. I've never really done one of these, nor have I really seen one of these, so I thought it'd be fun and you guys get to know me a little more. I get to bond with you guys a little more. You get to hear about my testimony and how I deal with things from the past. I'm pretty excited for this video. I actually asked on my Instagram the questions like about a month ago, but I don't know, I haven't had time to sit down and actually be raw and vulnerable with you guys for that long. Today, that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be answering your questions. I'm excited. I'm kind of nervous, but you guys are along for the ride with me. Before we get on to the video, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe to this channel for more. Turn on that bell notification so you know when videos are coming. Also, go follow my Instagram and TikTok at katyy.patyy with 2 eyes on each side. You can join the journey there. I always say, if you're new, hey, welcome to the channel. And if you're back, I'm surprised you're back, but I'm glad you're back. Join the journey. Let's get into this video. I'm a little nervous, but it'll be good. It'll be good. Put my hair down. We're ready. We're ready for this video. So if you do hear some pitter patter, it's raining outside, so I'm sorry. Can't do anything about the weather. I'm not the weather woman. I'm not God, so stay tuned for that. I think we're gonna ease our way into this. I'm gonna start like a little not the most heart-wrenching questions, and then as we go, I'm gonna do the heart-wrenching questions just to like ease my way into the deep end and not just plunge in. How are you able to be so open about your past? Now, I get this question quite often because I am very open. I'm open about porn and sex and lust on the internet, and a lot of people are very curious why I can do that, and honestly I'm curious too. The fun thing about me and my channel and my journey is I started my TikTok 10 days after I gave my life to Christ. I was a baby Christian. I had blonde hair, I had zero confidence, I had zero story to tell. Like, I didn't tell anything. I didn't just outright open about how I've had sex. The Lord really eased me into the deep end, if I like to say. And how I'm able to be open about my past is because I realized a couple things. Is one, friends will leave, family will leave, but God will never leave, which sucks to think about, is because, you know, the people you think that you have in your life through thick and thin and supporting you through everything, that might change after you start being open about your faith or start being bold and obedient to God. So one is, yeah, the dynamic changed, and two is I realized this world is not our home. Like, this world is not our home, and when you really think about that, nothing matters except Christ. No opinion matters, no circumstance, no situation, nothing really matters except God and giving your life to Him. And yeah, we'll go through crap, we'll go through terrible situations, we'll go through health wise and family situation wise and hurt and trauma. We will go through that on this earth, and your feelings are completely valid, but at the end of the day, God is sovereign, God is good, and He's the one that I was obedient to. He was the one that never left me. He was the one that never disappointed me. He was the one that never broke my heart. So with those two mentalities of things will change when you give your life to Christ and be open about your faith, and two, that this world is not your home, it makes it so much easier to not care about what people think about you. Like, so many people from my high school, so many people from that I used to hook up with in the past, or like used to be friends with benefits with, that vibe, they all left me. They all didn't support me when I'm at my happiest, when I'm at my joyous, is when I have faith. And they've said mean things and they've done mean things, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the 1 minute video that they watched, even if it was to hate on, it was a little glimpse of seeing the joy of Jesus and seeing what Jesus has done. And it made them think like, wow, maybe God is real, because look at the change that has happened in their life. So yeah, I think that answers it. So the next question is, what was the lowest moment in your life and how did God use that? I don't actually think I've told this story on my TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, but a month before I gave my life to Christ, I went on a family vacation to Mexico, and my grandma was there, my mom and dad were there, my siblings were there, and about halfway through that vacation I had been getting hammered every single night, drunk every single night, and it was in the middle of the day. I didn't think I had that much to drink, and I still don't remember really. I don't know if I got roofied, I don't know if I just got really drunk, but I blacked out for almost a day, like a really long time. And I was throwing up everywhere. I fought my dad. I woke up with like bruises because like I stripped in the pool. It was in front of everybody and it was the most embarrassing thing. I don't remember it, thank God. I think it's really God making me not remember that. And I just embarrassed myself in front of everybody, like the whole resort, my parents, these college boys that were there. They were from University of Michigan, I think, and they were on summer vacation and they were all there. And the next day I woke up and I didn't really remember what I did. I just thought I was really hungover. And I went downstairs and everybody was looking at me like I was naked, like I just killed their dog, like with just so much shame. And I remember being filled with so much shame, like I can't even describe it. And I saw those boys and I looked at them and it was so, I felt that it was the lowest moment of my life. And just the fact that my grandma and my whole family saw me at my lowest point where I was throwing up on the ground, and just, it was disgusting. And how God actually used that story was a couple of months later, like after I gave my life to Christ, when I started my TikTok. It was like, I think 2 months after I started my TikTok or something. One of the college boys actually from that commented, and I had never talked about it on my TikTok, I had never talked about it on my Instagram, and not a lot of people even in like my close circles knew about this story because it was just a very terrible, shameful story I didn't like to tell. And one of these college boys actually commented on my TikTok being like, hey, I am from like the college boys and I from Mexico. Yeah, they just commented, and I can't even remember what they said, but I just remember like thanking God, because like even if it was a hate comment, even if it was like not intended to be good, they still saw a glimpse of Jesus and saw that girl turn into who I am today, and saw a glimpse of what God can do in that testimony. And so yeah, that was probably the lowest moment in our life, but also a moment that God used for his story, because every single wound in our heart, every single sin can always be used as a trophy of God's grace and who he is. We're literally walking billboards of how God changes people. Have I had a pregnancy scare? I actually haven't told a lot of these stories. Wow. How do I describe this? So I gave my life to Christ on March 19th. 2020. About a week before there, literally the day before I gave my life to Christ, I had sex and I was sleeping around before then with multiple people. And so anyway, after I gave my life to Christ, then I started my TikTok on March 26th, I think it was, of 2020. And about a month later, I didn't get my, alright, this is probably TMI, but I didn't get my period. And so I was freaking out because I had just given my life to Christ. I had just had this platform where I was glorifying and honoring God, and my platform wasn't that big at that point. Like I think it was only like 2,000 people for following me. I don't even know what it was, honestly. But I just remember praying and being like, God, what if I'm pregnant? Like you had just redeemed that from me. Like you had just completely made me new. I remember asking myself, but would that change my opinion on God? No, it wouldn't have. Like, would that make me believe that God's not a good God? Would that make me want to run away from Christ or Christians or church? Like, no. Every single wound, every single story of my past is used for God's glory. And yeah, that would have been a very sticky situation, and long story short, I wasn't pregnant. But it was scary because I was like, I wouldn't know the Father, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm a Christian now, and now this. And so I think that honestly taught me to have a very big soft spot for women, stuff like, and like sex and even like abortion in that topic, because like I had to ask myself, like, what would I have done? I don't even know how to describe it, just to be put in that position of like, oh, maybe I am pregnant. It's scary, and I kind of have like a more softer spot, I think, for women who are going through that and like the scariness of it. But obviously I wasn't pregnant, so I don't know the gravity of it. Honestly, I was talking to God and praying about it while I was freaking out, and I was like, God, even if I am, you still love me, I'm still your child, you still have redeemed me, and you're still good. So the next question is, what are the things from your past that you still struggle with? Honestly, I would say forgiving myself for the things I did to hurt people. Like there's some people that I was so toxic, I was so manipulative, the worst, and just I was a liar, and the things that I did and who I hurt in the process, in the crossfire of all my dumpster trash of a life back then, I really regret it, and I pray for those I hurt like almost every single night. Yeah, I think just forgiving myself. Like I know Christ forgives me, I know that I'm made completely new, and that I have a completely new identity, that I'm a daughter of a king, a child of God, that I'm made new and made clean, and that Jesus forgives me. But it's hard for me to accept that I need to forgive myself too, if that makes sense, and not hold on to that myself, because like Jesus doesn't hold on to it. So like, why should I hold on to it? And like, there's steps to take, forgiveness to be asked, and I have asked for forgiveness from a lot of people, but just the fact that I still like hurt them and ruined a lot of things in their life too. I think that's probably the hardest thing that I probably won't ever get over, honestly. Like, it's a working process, it's a day-to-day process, and I try all the time about it. Even though I'm made new, like, I know I'm made new, but it's the fact that I'm the villain in someone else's story a lot of the cases. Before I came to Christ, and that kind of scares me. Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. Are you scared a Christian boy is not gonna want you because of your past? Now, I love this question because you're curious, but I hate this question too. It's because this question kind of has the stigma that God can't change people completely. Like, when you come to Christ, you're made completely new. Like, your identity, like, you're a child of God. You're not somebody who used to sleep around. You're not a drunk Christian. You're not a drug dealer Christian. You are a Christian. You are a born-again believer. You have the Holy Spirit dwelling inside of you, convicting you, leading you on the path of righteousness. So honestly, I wouldn't want a boy who doesn't want me because of my past, because that means he's not a godly man. That means that he doesn't believe in the power of what Jesus did on the cross. He doesn't believe in the power of the cross. So I wouldn't want to date a guy who doesn't want me because of my past. A godly man, a born-again believer, would believe in the power of what Jesus did on the cross, dying for those sins, dying for me. Like, he died for me. He died for you. He died for everybody. Also, with that kind of thing, it's kind of painting that just because I've had sex before marriage means that his sin isn't as big as mine. Like, I'm gonna have to forgive him. I'm gonna have to forgive him for his past, even if he didn't have sex before marriage, because we all have baggage. Every single one of us. Like, me, him, you, everybody has baggage except Jesus, because he's God and he's perfect. How do you stay on fire for God all the time? I'm gonna give you a little secret. I don't. Yes, I have this platform. Yes, I would say I'm a Christian influencer or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not on fire for God all the time. I go through spiritual warfare just like you. I go through seasons of trial and doubt and fear and lack of trust in God too. I'm not perfect. Sadie Robertson, Matt Chandler, all those big influencers in like the Christian place, pastors and stuff, they're not perfect either. And they aren't on fire for God all the time. But it's the fact that even in my valleys, I still have that routine of praying to God and talking to God, and even on my highest I do still pray and talk to God and stuff, and that's just a constant routine and constantly like seeking after him in whatever circumstance you are, even if you're not in the fire. Maybe if you're like burnt out, you're broken and bruised, seeking him in that too. That is how my relationship with him keeps growing. But I'm not on fire for God all the time, and I've been doing this ministry, online ministry, for about a year and a couple months now, and there's been ups and downs and hills and valleys and conflicts and trials behind the scenes that you guys don't even know about, but that I am pretty open about too. So I'm not on fire all the time, and I don't want you to think I am. What change in relationship was the hardest for you to accept after coming to Christ? I think it was the people closest to me. I thought that dynamic would stay the same. I thought that there would still be love and support, and that they would love me while I'm happy, while I have joy, because when I found Christ, I finally found joy, and I thought they would stay, but actually they didn't. And that was pretty hard for me to accept, was losing the people closest to me, or that dynamic change, or just like people's view of me changing for the worse, I guess. Like, as soon as you kind of are open about your faith and you proclaim the name of Jesus and stuff like that, a lot of people can put stigmas on you just because you are living for Christ, like judgmental, or I don't know, prude, or hypocritical, or everything like that. As soon as you place the name of Christian on you, there's gonna be some pre-assumptions, just because people have met bad Christians in the past, or people have met people who hate people who have sex before marriage, or a part of the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of bad stigma around religion and Christianity and that, and so people will place those judgments on you even if you're not doing it. And so I think that was the hardest to accept, that like the people I thought would be the closest to me and stay with me to the end actually weren't. What made me change to be religious? I think what made me change to be like a born-again believer, to give my life to Christ, realizing I had tried everything. Boys, sex, drugs, drinking, manipulation, being the popular girl, being the mean girl. I had tried everything, and like nothing worked. And I kind of came to the end of it, and I was like, okay, the boy I gave everything to, he only wants me for my body and doesn't actually love me. Like, I'm a liar. Nobody actually really knows who I actually am. These drugs and drinking and partying every weekend isn't like fulfilling me. Like, it just makes me feel more crappy. Literally was at the end of my rope, and I'm like, what else do I have? Like, what else? And I had gone to youth group growing up, but I never really had a relationship with Jesus where I actually devoted my life to him. I didn't even believe in him, honestly. Like, I just believe there was something. Like, I believe there was something out there, whether that's like a Buddha, you are your own God. Like, I wouldn't say I was into New Age and stuff, but like I knew there was something out there. I didn't really believe in God, like the God of the Bible, I would say. And yeah, so I kind of was at the end of my rope, and I was like, maybe I should try a relationship with Jesus. Like, maybe I should just try it. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I tried everything else. Why don't I just try giving my life to Christ? Or like, just try. And so I gave God kind of an ultimatum, and I was like, if you don't change my life in 2 weeks, you're not real and I don't want you. And so that's probably not the best, but I did do that. God absolutely changed my life after that. Just started to pray more, like actually talk to him and learn who he was. He was nothing like what I was taught or what I subconsciously believed. And I'm still learning about him. Like, you never graduate from the Bible. Yeah, I think that was the moment when I realized I'm finally home. So guys, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed. I love you guys so much, and I hope this helped you to maybe even be more open about your life and your story in your community. I'm praying for you. I actually pray for you guys every night, and I'm so blessed to have this platform and that God has given me this platform, because honestly, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I love you guys, and I'm praying for you, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!